for Sandy Lobell!
Wow, great to be here. I love the energy in this room. It's almost a new year. You guys have your New Year's resolutions lined up? Yeah? I did very well last year. My resolution was to get in great shape. And I did it. But then I quickly undid it. But I feel like that still counts, you know? Because I'm in a battle with obesity. Which I think is the most glorified way you could possibly put that, you know? Like, a battle. Sounds like a Scottish warrior or something. Come on, obesity! What have you got? Bring it on now! Well, what's that you said? A sandwich! You win this battle! Obesity. And a side of fries, that's just cruel. Now you're then. I am a prisoner of war. A prison made of pizza. My wife lives with me, which is good, you know. So she observes me, and she said, you know, I watch the way you eat, and I don't think you eat that much. I think your problem is, and I love the way she put it, she said, is that you are completely inactive. Completely, which I love. It's like I completed something, finally. Lifetime of ADD, and I did it. But, you know, you don't want your wife thinking that, so I got defensive with her. I'm like, oh, why would you think that? She says, because you're just always sitting there. Well, that's a tough one to argue with, you know. I said, well, that's just because I'm an attentive husband. You know, you talk and I sit there and I listen. It would be disrespectful if I was moving all around, you know. But as soon as you leave, you know, you should see me. I'm bouncing off these walls. There's energy. I can't be stopped. She didn't believe me because she bought me a Fitbit for my birthday this year so she could track my steps. So now every day when she leaves, I put it on my dog. I just throw a ball around the living room for 30 minutes. I'm doing easily 20,000 steps before breakfast. There's 4 legs, you know, you get double. I made the Fitbit most active users list 3 months in a row. This guy. People always give you unsolicited advice for when you're overweight. No, you don't ask for it. People just come up to you like they're a guru on it, and they're just like, hey. Somebody said, hey, buddy. No donuts. Oh, there's one. Thank you. That's very controversial. But what doctor you see? But I'll look that one up. Somebody told me every time you eat a burger, you're taking 6 minutes off your life. I was shocked. I went home and I thought about that, and I was like, I eat 4 burgers a month. Man, I threw away all my socks. Because I calculated it was taking me 30 minutes a month to pair my socks. I got all matching socks. And I gained 6 minutes a month on my life without giving up any burgers. That's the secret to immortality. If I could figure out how to do that with other things, I'll live forever. I love living in LA. I'm from New York originally. People in New York, they are brainwashed to think New York is good. It's not good. And no amount of evidence will change their minds. It's a hard argument, though. I was on the phone with my friend Dave, who's still there. He's still captive of New York. I was telling him, you know, he's like, oh, it's freezing. I was like, yes, you're suffering for nothing. You can leave. You can leave anytime you want. Come to LA, it's nice here. He says it's not nice there, it's fake. I said it's not really fake. People just say that to keep you from leaving New York. He says, no, it's fake. I said, it's not fake. He says, it is fake. I said, it's not fake. He said, what are you doing right now? I said, I'm putting down plastic grass in my yard, but that is not the point. He's like, what are you doing later? I said, I'm taking a driverless car to the Grove to watch an artificial snow show. And I'm getting Impossible Burgers. And watching people shoot Ozempic into their fake butts. But that's not the point. It's very nice here. You can go out and do things. You're not restricted by the freezing cold. Like I took my family to the zoo recently in San Diego. Yeah, I'm not much of a big shot. I can do that. Even though it costs $1 million to go to the zoo. Did you know how expensive it is to go? It was hundreds of dollars to take 3 kids and a wife and me to the zoo. For nothing, just to see animals. Like, I told my wife, I begged her, don't do this because my kids are still young enough because I've been able to trick them for a long time now that pet shops are zoos. I once talked to a famous comedian and he told me like, I can't go to like regular sushi places anymore because I've been exposed to good sushi. And I stored that in my head. I'm like, never eat good sushi. Once they see the real thing, it's going to be very hard to convince them that Petco is a zoo. But in the San Diego Zoo, they have the panda bears right now, and it's all about the panda bears. And everyone's like, you guys see the panda bears? There's signs for panda bears. There's a lot of panda bear merch everywhere. And I'm like, why does everyone care so much more about panda bears than everything other animal in the zoo? And then someone's like, oh, because they're only here for a limited time. I'm like, we're all only here for a limited time. They're like, no, they have to leave. I'm like, where are they going to go? They're bears, you know? And they're like, no, they're on loan from China. I'm like, well, why don't we just buy them? We're America. We have a lot of money. And they're like, because China owns all the panda bears. Did you know that? China owns all the panda bears, and they only lend them out for short. First of all, that must suck for the panda bears to be flying back and forth all the time to China. Like, what a tour schedule, you know? Like, all the other bears are just chilling indefinitely. And the pandas are like, oh man, I've got like my ears are popping. I'm gonna go back to freaking China. It's a long flight. But
they might not be pandas.
They might not be pandas.
There's an article that came out that China was.
This sounds like something you should tell me after. It's like a lot of information for me, and I can't grasp all that information. It's like an article you were telling me just now. It's a lot of stuff. But this is way too much information. What I can't believe is that like we don't just take the pandas. We're America. Like China has got spy balloons going over our country and drones, and they've stolen all our intellectual property and hacked our cybersecurity, and they give us COVID. But we're like, you know what? We're going to respect the bear rule. You know? They said they're only here on a loan, so what a nerve for them to own all their bears in their country like that. Like, every other country's bears are in the public domain, you know? You could just take, nobody cares if you take a black bear, which is maybe racist, I don't know, but there's no Black Bears Matter movement or anything. You can literally take as many black bears as you want from any country, nobody cares. Polar bears are literally sinking into the water and nobody cares. They're like, save the polar bears. We're like, I don't know. We have one, that's enough. It is sad. Until you meet a polar bear. I wish they would all sink, you know? Well, they're not only vicious, but they also, I blame them for the fact that I'm overweight because they pushed me into a life of Coca-Cola and Klondike bars. They're not nice bears. You can take as many koala bears as you want. That's probably because they're not even really bears. That's just Australian people being insecure about the fact that they live on some weird, freaky continent that has no bears. And they're like, look at that, that's a bear, look at it. And when you look look at it and you look at pictures of other bears and you're like, I don't think so. Have you guys ever seen bears before? I would say that's some kind of weird monkey sloth type of thing. Clearly not a bear. Then there's a long line to see the pandas when you get to the pandas, and I'm like, why is it taking so long to because you just, zoo, you just glance at the animal and you move on. Like, I hate people that read the plaque. Like, what are you doing for that? Are you cramming for a test that's never going to happen on a Just look at it and be like, it's alive, keep moving, Or if it's not alive, you're like, is that alive? And then it moves a little bit, okay, I guess it's alive. Flickers in the air or something. But it was out of control with the pandas because the zoo, the reason it took so long is the zoo had a volunteer to tell people about pandas. Is worse than the plaque. People were stopping and asking stupid panda questions, and it was holding up the whole line. And I got there, I was furious. Someone's like, so, before I move on, I just wonder, do the pandas, are they only vegetarian? Do they ever eat meat? I'm like, that's a good question for Siri. Get moving. Writing a panda thesis? Stop it. Why do you need to know this? Suddenly, you've lived your entire life. You're over 40 years old. You knew nothing about pandas. Now we're all standing here with children. This is not your time to learn about panda bears. It's your time to look at them and be like, is that a human in a bear suit? I don't know. And then move. My oldest daughter is 5 now, and she's right at the age where she's starting to catch on to me. She's like noticing that I'm not 100% quite like her friend's dads. The other day she looked at me and she goes, Daddy? I'm like, yeah. She goes, are you smart? I don't want to lie to her, She's going to figure it out soon enough anyway. So I was like, I'm like street smart. She's like, what's that? I said, I could tell you how to gain 6 minutes a month on your life without giving up any burgers. She's like, I don't get it. I said, all right, here's the deal. I can help you with your homework till 2nd grade. After that, it's strictly art projects. Daddy's got ADD. It's not called that now, it's ADHD. Because everything's high def. I like to think I'm smart, though. I do want to think that, but everything about me that I observe, all the evidence points to not really. I spend way too many hours to the point that it's embarrassing to tell you, watching videos online that are titled, Is It Real or Is It Cake? And all it is like they bring out different items that look really real, and then they bring a knife to it, and before the knife hits, you decide if it's real or if it's cake. And it's always cake. And I'm fooled every single time. Like an idiot. I'm like, that is definitely a real leather shoe. This time, it's going to be a knife in leather for sure. And then they kind of do, I'm like, it's cake! And I'm like, no, don't bring that knife near that very real electrical outlet. Cake again! I've really started doubting all reality at this point. My wife walked in the room the other day. I was chewing on my cell phone. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I think it might be cake. If I bite you on the way out, you look a little cakey. You might look delicious. I remember when they used to roll out giant cakes. Remember like those things, they'd roll out a giant cake and then a woman would pop out of it and everybody would be so impressed? And now we live in a time when people are more impressed if the woman is the cake. I'll just end on this. like I said, I love my wife, and I have an amazing wife, and everybody always says, a guy so handsome as you must have been so easy for you with your choice of women. And shockingly, I'm telling you, I had to work for it. This is how far I went. I dated a girl before my wife who was an alcoholic. And I'm not super proud of this, a little bit maybe, but I pretended to be an alcoholic too, so I could go with her to AA meetings to flirt with her. And I was living in New York at the time, and I remember the first time I was in one of these AA meetings, and I was so nervous I was going to get caught, because I don't know what they do if you ruin the anonymity, you know. Pelt you with the coins until you die, I don't know. But I didn't know you had to have a story plan, so they're like going around and everybody's getting up. Somebody's like, I had a house and a car and a boat, and Jack Daniels took it all away from me. I'm like, man, that guy had a house and a boat, and I haven't lived. I gotta start drinking, you know? And it gets closer and closer to me. And they're like, okay, get up and tell us about yourself. And I just get up and I froze. I'm like, I'm Danny, I'm an alcoholic, and I drink too much. Much too much. I just kept saying much too much. And like, much more than is a healthy amount to drink by recommendations, and then I throw up. Anyway, this next guy is a real mess, and you're gonna love him. Please keep it going for this guy. And then the next guy got up and he had a real story about how his life is horrible. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get caught next week unless I have something. So I just went out drinking like crazy. I went from nothing to getting hammered at the bars every night. I'm probably the only person who ever became an alcoholic from going to one AA meeting. And I go from bar to bar and I'm drinking Jaeger, and I'm living in Times Square, and I'm walking to my apartment, and there's an abandoned hot dog stand there, and I don't know how that happened. I think the guy was just like, I was a doctor in Pakistan. What am I doing here? Just left. And I fall into the cart, and the cart falls on me, and 3 waterfalls of nasty hot dog water that have been sitting outside in the New York sun all day start waterfalling down on me, and I'm so drunk I'm trying to get up, but the water is so slippery, and then the smell hits me all at once, and I start projectile vomiting all over myself. I remember right in the middle of this smiling and thinking, this is going to kill it next week, you know? Thank you guys so much.